Anyway, I'm just going to pan across from the pond so we can have a nice look across the fields. That's Reggie Pearce next door below, his fields of wheat. Could even be sorted right over in the far field. In the foreground here you can see a lot of thistles in this field, which we're going to have to deal with at some point. I think we're going to have to get them sprayed. Well, I've done my little bit of knapsack spraying, but these have got out of hand. I can't knapsack spray these by hand. These are, you know, all over the whole field. And you can see what happens when creeping thistle kind of gets a good grip. You know, eventually there's no grass. Anyway, I'm just going to nip over to the orchard now, which is the old orchard. And you can just see a few trees over there past the shed. Must be out of sight now, that new shed's there. Anyway, I'm going to go and have a look in the new orchard, or the old orchard even, because we can see the evidence of June drop, which I'll talk about when we get there. Well, while I'm walking down to the orchard, I thought we'd just stop at the conker tree. As you can see, that's lost quite a few of its conkers now. There's still some hanging on there, but they start falling off and leaving just a few on there at this time of year, same as the apples. And if we just pan round, there's the walnut tree. And Dad planted these from walnuts himself. And if we can just focus on there, you can just see a couple of small walnuts coming now. So that's something that we'll look at later in the year. They won't be ready till probably October. There'll probably be a few more around the branches somewhere. But anyway, nice to see. And if we sweep round here, there's another walnut tree that Dad planted, still fenced from the cattle. Up here, sweet chestnut tree. No sign of any chestnuts yet, but you can see the fronds on there, which is sort of, I presume, to be pollinated by the bees to get the chestnuts. Look, quite dainty, sort of little wisps on the end. So I imagine some sort of bee or something will come along and pollinate those, and then we'll end up with chestnuts. It's only really got going this last year, this tree. Because before then the chestnuts didn't really have any kind of centre to them, but I think as the tree matures they produce a proper sort of nut. Right, anyway, that's a bit of distraction. On the way to the orchard. Well, I will get to the orchard eventually, but in the meantime I'm stopping at another little point on the way. And here we go. We've got the elderberries now, just coming into, well, just starting to form the little berries. You can see up there, there's one little flower blossom there. When we looked at this last time, it was covered in flowers. And you can see next to the little berries, still green, they've got to swell yet and become black. Still haven't found a very good use for these. I mean, the birds end up eating them all. But let's still go down and have a look at the orchard. Here we are then, there's one of the apple trees in the orchard. And if you look up there, you can see quite a few apples on there. And they're starting to swell up quite large now. A lot bigger than when I looked at them a few weeks ago. But if you look underneath the tree, as well as the cow muck, you'll see quite a few apples that have fallen off. It's like a little carpet of apples almost. And that's quite normal. It's called the June drop. And what happens is the tree sheds some apples or pears or whatever fruit it is in about June. For some reason it must know how much it can cope with, produce good fruit, and it drops them. So it's nothing to worry about. It's not an illness or anything. It's just a June drop. But the rest of the orchard is looking very healthy now. Thankfully we had quite a lot of rain in the last few weeks, and it's made up for all the lack of rain we had earlier in the year. We just hope it stays, you know, reasonable now until October. I don't really want a drought.